At that point, I started to look into different options to work from home. And that's when I stumbled across BBL. I think I was on Pinterest, or I found it somehow on Pinterest.
I love bookkeeping.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show. I am your host, Ben Robinson, and as always, we've got a treat with us here today. She is a bookkeeping professional from Wichita, Kansas. I always feel like I'm on the dating game trying to introduce somebody here when I'm doing that, like I'm the MC or something like that. But we are fortunate to have her with us. She's from Wichita, Kansas, as I mentioned before. She is married to her, what she calls kind of, in quotes, high school sweetheart. I think there's a story from there. And recently he has retired from his job to join her in her business. So that's awesome. And it also brings a little bit of complexity to the relationships. Ask me how I know. So you want to both be able to stay at home with your 2-year-old son. You have big plans for the future, including buying an RV and traveling the world. She enjoys Netflix binge watching, and she recently started taking Krav Maga classes. So she says she feels pretty badass about that. Welcome to the I Love Bookkeeping Show, Heather Denning.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you having me on. Okay,
so first things first, I have to get at this one. And why is it kind of, in quotes, high school sweetheart with your spouse?
Right. Well, so my best friend and I have been friends since we were 6 years old. And she introduced me to my now husband when we were like 14 and 15. And so we kind of had a little high school fling, and he was my first boyfriend and all of that. But, we went to different schools. And so we ended up only dating for a few months. And then when I moved back from college in 2012, we started spending time together again that night. And now we've been together for over 7 years and have a 2-year-old. So we've known each other all throughout high school, but we weren't technically together all of high school. So
that's wonderful. Where did you go to college?
I started at University of Kansas, and then I ended up I graduated from Wichita State University.
Okay. So, Rock Chalk, right?
That's
Rock
right.
Chalk.
Rock
Two
Chalk.
very good basketball schools right there.
That's right. Yes, we're very lucky. We have good basketball and good football with the Chiefs so far. So
yeah, very good. Yeah. Not so much with Kansas football. Let's just put that out there, right? Yeah, not in a few years.
Yeah, NFL.
All right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your journey. Obviously, on the I Love Bookkeeping Show, we have kind of two segments. We kind of learn a little bit about you, what brought you to this business, what inspired you to do what you're doing. And then the second half, we kind of go into a challenge or opportunity you have. So let's get a little background here on you, Heather.
Sure.
Why in the world did you decide to start a bookkeeping business, a virtual bookkeeping business at that?
Exactly. Well, I got my accounting degree in 2014 and worked in corporate accounting for a few years, and didn't know it at the time, but I made to be a business owner and my own boss. I did not enjoy working in that environment at all. And so in 2016, I got married, and then we ended up getting pregnant and expecting our son. And so at that point, I started to look into different options to work from home. And that's when I stumbled across BBL. I think I was on Pinterest, or I found it somehow on Pinterest. And we were driving back from a Chiefs football game, and I looked at my husband and I said, this could be it. This could be the big changer. And I thought about it for months and months, and eventually had my son. And then when he was about 2 months old, I decided to actually dive into it. And so I've always really enjoyed numbers and the details and really the bookkeeping side of accounting. And then when I found out about the opportunity to work from home and be able to stay home with my son, that sold it for me.
Absolutely. All right. So you found us on Pinterest. So were you skeptical in BBL and kind of the whole thing? Was that a little bit of skepticism?
Well, it was, yes, I watched the 3 videos, and I just wanted to make sure that it was something that I could handle doing along with having a child. And so I don't think I joined the Facebook group, but I kept, getting the emails and looking into it and thinking about it more. And then something just clicked when he was about 2 months old. I realized, okay, I can kind of handle motherhood. So now I'll tackle this next thing. And so that's where I was heading. Yeah.
Well, that's impressive, because having a 2-month-old, having been a father to 3 of them, and I had the easy job, that's not easy. So if you look at the things that cause stress in lives, moving is up there, but having a child and starting a business are in the top 10.
Right.
So you just said, I'm already stressed. Let's just go ahead and get it all out of the way.
Yeah,
Was
I
that kind of your?
basically pretty much. Yeah, I was like, I'm already learning all of these new things, and I might as well throw this into the mix. My husband's very supportive, and we both have our family here in town, so that was really helpful. But I started BBL, and I probably took longer than most students did because I had my 2-year-old, and I tried to kind of DIY everything, my website, all the legal things, except for hiring a lawyer. I hired a lawyer. But yeah, I took a little bit of time starting the business. And then it was probably about a year after I started BBL, I actually dove in and got my first client. And then from there, it took off, honestly, much faster than I was expecting, which is a good and a bad thing. But yeah, that's how I got here. So
I'd rather have that problem than the other of no
right.
clients and no income.
Exactly.
And so I think that after today, we maybe can help a little bit with that. So one thing you mentioned, you said you did not enjoy working in the environment that you were in before. So what about that job was not enjoyable?
Right. For me, it was mostly the lack of flexibility. I don't really have a problem like working with others or, I feel like I'm more of a leader, but that wasn't it. It was more just the lack of flexibility in my time. When I was going to have my son, the place I was currently working at said, we don't offer part-time. We don't offer work from home. And they said, well, that's not the lifestyle I'm looking for. So the flexibility in our schedule now, being able to go on vacations or go out of town whenever we desire. Sorry, there's an ambulance.
Oh, they're coming after me finally.
I know, right?
Everybody knows. If you don't hear me on here, you know what happened.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
But yeah, it was really just the flexibility and being able to have my own hours, but also determine how I run my own business, what clients I work with, and just how I live my day-to-day life.
Yeah. Do you find what you do now fulfilling?
Oh yeah. Yes, definitely. In addition to being able to have the flexibility and stay at home, and then my husband joining the business, just being able to help other business owners. I work with a lot of other stay-at-home moms or mompreneurs or a lot of startup companies, and I really enjoyed being able to kind of help them navigate the financial world because so many of them just don't understand it or are overwhelmed by it. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's awesome. Yeah. Flexibility, freedom, those are words that we commonly hear.
Mm-hmm.
We basically just want to be in control of our day. We all know that we have to work hard to get to where we want to go. It's just a matter of let's do that. Let's fit our life. Let's fit our business around our life rather than having to sacrifice our life for our business or for an income. So
exactly.
Kudos to you and your husband for making this happen. And now he's joined you, correct?
He has, yes. And you mentioned earlier, it has been quite the transition trying to balance out, bringing him onto the business, learning how to delegate because I very much am a control freak. But he's been very helpful also with our son and just all of the other hats that we both have to wear. So we're kind of in that transition time now that we've gotten past tax season. We have a little bit more room to breathe, and we plan on kind of okay, what is he going to start taking over? What am I going to start streamlining so we can start bringing on people? And one term I like is I feel like I'm working or my business is running my life instead of me running my business. And part of that is because it grew so fast. But the other part is I know that's how it is. And from what I've seen, it's possible to not have to be that way. I could eventually grow the business and bring on a team to where I'm not stuck in the day-to-day, routine.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so after you invested and went through Bookkeeper Business Launch, I kind of know the rest of the story because I'm looking here at your application. How many clients do you now serve, Heather?
I think I have about 14.
14.
Okay. And 2 of them I ended up parting ways with around the new year simply because they just weren't, I kind of told them, I was like, look, your business is, it's kind of eating up all of your profit. And I've set up your books and I'm training you, but a couple of them, I just couldn't, continue with it. So hopefully they can, grow the business a little more this year and we can, rekindle. But I've been very lucky that most of the other clients that I've brought on so far, we still have a great working relationship with and are going well. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if we can't help that challenge that you have there, right? Kind of getting rid of the chaos. But right before we do that, I got one final question here. So,
Mhm.
who would you recommend Bookkeeper Business Launch and this lifestyle of being a virtual bookkeeper to? Like, who do you think is a good fit?
Well, I think it's someone who has the drive and the motivation to do what they need to do to live the life they want to live. It can be very, um, you can get very comfortable in a job, and I've learned that bringing my husband on board, having to set up health insurance and life insurance and retirement and all of that. I've realized how many benefits there really are to working for an employer. But for me, the benefit of having my own schedule and my flexibility is far outweighs that. So I think anyone who just wants to be able to get up and go to the Bahamas when they want to, like we just did, or, travel the country or spend more time with their kids. I think anyone that has that drive and enjoys numbers would be a
Yes.
perfect fit. Probably those two things, the drive and then the numbers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We always say you don't have to love numbers, but you do have to enjoy them and not be fearful of them.
Right.
So,
Right.
very straightforward. Used to have people, or still have people that say, "Hey, I hate numbers. Should I do this?" No, that's be like a doctor or a potential physician saying, "Hey, I hate blood. Should I become a physician?"
Mhm.
No, you shouldn't. So,
Exactly.
very good point there. Awesome. Well, congratulations on growing that, because when did you
Yeah.
start this journey? When did this start?
With BBL or just with my business and
Yeah, when
growing
you started
clients?
BBL.
It
Yeah, when
was
you
in
started.
April 2017. So it's been less
Okay.
than 2 years, about
Okay.
2 years this time. Mhm.
Okay. And you got 14 clients. So let's kind of transition over to your vision now for the future.
Mhm.
Obviously, you're already accomplishing a lot of things. You're at home, your husband's at home. But where do you want to take this business? What's your end game here?
Right. Well, my end game, honestly, is to kind of move towards more of the CEO role, I suppose. More of the, um, I want to bring on the clients. I really enjoyed the whole networking and establishing relationships part of it. And so I'd still like to wear that hat. And I also really like the cleanups and establishing new systems. But as far as the day to day and growing my capacity, that's part of why my husband joined the business, was because I was starting to reach my capacity. And I know the only way to grow beyond that and to step outside of the day to day bookkeeper role and more into the owner CEO role, I know that I'm going to have to bring on either employees or contractors or some sort of help, start delegating things. So that's kind of where I'm heading. I have some numbers that, I put together, some business plan and some goals like that. But eventually I'd really love to be able to, if we want to RV and we're going to a remote location and, it might be a week or two that we don't have reliable internet, to feel comfortable with that, to know that I have a team in place that can handle it, even if I'm not there every day. So that's the goal.
Okay. So at this point, is it about finances? Is there a need for you financially to gain more clients and to grow?
Yes, I would say, yeah, yes. I mean, financially comfortable, but to get to the point that we want to be eventually, yes, we'll want to continue to bring on. Right now, I'm at 14. I think between my husband and I said our capacity would be about 20, but we would love to grow above and beyond that and create a whole business where many people can rely on the income from it. Mhm.
Okay. All right. I want to come back to that because that's a very important point right there. But so let me just make sure I understand. For right now, you're not having to go get clients to feed your family. Like everything's cool there, right?
Right, right.
Is that
Yes.
okay?
And I would like to start focusing in on the more ideal client. One part of growing so fast was that I didn't actually focus on a niche. And I know I kept telling myself, no, Ben said do it, focus on a
Yes.
niche. So that's kind of where I'm heading, is either focusing on a specific niche for myself, or since I have started to learn so many different industries, bringing on help that can focus on just this industry and this industry. And, if I get new clients, I will pass them on to you. So I have a few plans in mind. It's more just the strategy of how to get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things and reason that I asked that
Hmm.
question about finances, is it about money? Because if it's not really about money, it's not about the dire need for money. It's more of a, hey, this is going to be great because it's going to enable us to achieve our goals sooner. Is that it puts the power in your hands. And what do I mean by power? Not in a negative way, but in terms of taking on new clients, taking on staffing, and all of these different things. So it doesn't put you in a pressure situation. It puts you in an advantageous situation for you and for your clients and your potential clients moving forward. So kudos to you for that. You and your husband made a very wise decision waiting until you were there before, just bailing out and saying, oh, no, we're going to live on credit for the next 6 to 12 months.
Oh, yes.
You didn't do that,
I very much planned it ahead, and I have my budget all set out. So, I mean, I can't say we're overflowing with the funds, but I've always been fairly good with finances, and our goal is to eventually be above and beyond that. So
I don't want to know what you're making now. Obviously, that's a personal thing, and I don't ask that on these. But from where you are now, like, do you want to double? Do you want to triple? Do you want to do 100x, 50% more? What's your vision there?
Well, last year is kind of confusing as far as my numbers because I didn't actually start working with a whole lot of clients, and I had a huge rush in the second half. But then I had a lot of big business expenses I threw in there. So as far as my P&L, I don't really look at that. But as far as my projections of where I'm at on my monthly income now or revenue.
You don't have to tell numbers. You don't have to tell real numbers.
By the end of 2019, I'm hoping to double my monthly revenue. And then by the end of 2020, I'd hope to at least triple it, if not more. But I know I'm also going to have to bring on, help as well and pay them. So. Right.
Absolutely. One resource I want to recommend to you is a book called Double Double. It's by my coach, Cameron Harold, great guy. So Cameron, if you're listening to this, I do want to plug for it. But it talks about kind of what you're wanting to do and some of the things that we're going to be discussing here today. But I always like to leave you and the listeners with another reference that you can go to, because we can never get enough information. But knowledge is not power. Implementation is power.
Right. Okay. So that's a good
knowledge is potential power. So we can have all this great information. You listen to a podcast. I do the same thing. And then it just goes in one ear and then out the other if you don't implement on it. So it's better to take something that you hear, a nugget, stop this podcast and go execute on it rather than to listen to the entire thing and not do anything.
Right.
But all right. Okay. So now I got a clear vision of where you want to go. And that's important, right? It's important for you. It's important for your husband. It's important for everybody who's listening. You got to have the vision for what your business is like. What is my business like? Lean out 3 years from now. What does your business look like? Not just like revenue and all that, right? That's just one aspect of it. You said flexibility. So really creating that vivid vision, again, Cameron Harold term, but vivid vision of what it's going to be. Like, what's your day like? Like writing in there, you know what? Today we decided that we wanted to drive to Panhandle of Texas and do an RV thing or whatever there. Obviously, I don't think you go to the Panhandle of Texas to do an RV thing. Maybe you do. But, you can decide to do that. But really putting those things into your life that you make it tangible, that you see the reason why you're doing this. And so sounds like you got a good handle on that. The more that we can make this like real, like touchy-feely, like what our days are like, what our weeks are like, what the advantages are, who else we're impacting, the more likely it is that you're going to fulfill that dream, that vision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. So first thing, you got that check off. All right. So when we talk about the opportunity that's before you, you said that you would love to hire a contractor. And now this is by the end of 2019. You would love to hire a contractor or a few. You'd like to get them going so that you can start expanding my capacity in my business. I'm still in the process of systematizing everything and documenting my processes. Good job there. And I often feel overwhelmed when I think of bringing on someone else into my mess of a system that I currently have. I also have concerns about how to hire the right person so that they provide the quality service to my clients that I expect. Does that still sum it up?
Yep.
Okay.
Pretty much.
All right. So the reason that I ask about that vision is that it plays into this, and it plays into recommendations and kind of how you proceed moving forward. So let me challenge you. Why do you say you want to hire a contractor? What is that? That's a feature, right? And actually, that could be what's the opposite of a benefit? A detriment. So hiring people, everybody knows that it adds an additional element, but like, what's the end game here? Why do you really want to hire a contractor by the end of this year, or a few?
Well, in general, it would be just so that I'm not as I guess the one completely in charge of my day-to-day emails, day-to-day client tasks. Now, part of that will be once I start systemizing everything, I'll probably be more efficient. Therefore, my capacity will go up. So I know that I can handle a little bit more, but with the growth that I want to have this year, certainly I'll be at least beyond the capacity that I would like. Maybe not my physical capacity, but being a mom with a young child and wanting to travel, there's a certain level of capacity that I'm interested in. And I know that I am approaching that. And so I think probably my biggest part of that is just knowing that in order to bring on the more clients to increase the revenue, I'm going to need some more hours and some more manpower or woman power. And that's kind of just the goal. I know there might be some more challenges to it. And that's kind of why I think I'm so nervous about it, because I still have really yet to delegate a whole lot in my business in general. So it's where I'm heading, but I'm still trying to figure out the strategy and the best way to go about it. And even what I can pass on to them and what I do need to keep close, rein in and keep it on my plate. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So phrasing and wording, that's great. Thank you for sharing. Phrasing and wording is really, really key here. So really going from that perspective, I don't want to hire a contractor. These are the results that I want. Okay. If we start from the results based, and what we do is we've got our vision over here, right, that you started with. And then you say, here are the results that I want. Do those results that I'm asking for, that I'm putting out there, do those fit in with the vision that I have for my business? Yes, they do. Okay, great. Move forward. Now, what is going to make those happen? How are we going to make this work? Mm-hmm. All right. So everybody's heard Start With Why, great book by Simon Sinek. Start with why, why you did this. Obviously, we've covered that. Then you can kind of go to all right, well, what am I going to do? Where am I going to take this? And then finally get to the how we're going to get there. But so many times, and I am bad at this too, even though I've know better and I talk to people about this all the time, I can go immediately, well, how am I going to do that, right? So we started with how here. I want a contractor. All right, well, really, That's a result. And so it's a subtle change when you think about it, the logistics, but it's a huge change when you think about getting the results.
Right. That's a great point.
But one thing, we talk about OPP around here, outstanding processes and people. Matter of fact, we did a class on that. And you are doing something very keen here. So you're very smart in that you say that you need to get your processes down before you hire somebody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
You should pat yourself on the back.
I think I got that from you, actually. Yes. I think you taught me all that I know. So.
Okay. Well, hopefully not all that you know, but maybe just a little bit about the bookkeeping business. Yes. Okay. All right. So that's good. And that's something that we don't want to do, is to throw people at a process problem. We have to have a process down, and then we can put people into that so that we set them up for success, our team member. We set our client up for success, and then we set us up for success. Right. It's a win three. It's a win all around for everyone. So that's good that you got that there. What would you say? You mentioned earlier that networking and relationships, that's kind of like your groove. That's your unique ability. Is that true?
Yes. I find that there's bookkeepers out there and accountants, but I find that a lot of them aren't quite as strong on the personal side or the networking side, or not quite as extroverted as I am. And I've noticed at a lot of the networking events here around town and people that I've met that I'm one of the only bookkeepers around, although I know there are more in town. I love going to events like that. I love meeting new people and establishing relationships and, just growing that relationship before I even work with clients. And I've never advertised. I've never paid for advertising. It's all either been just word of mouth or networking events or connecting on social media. So that's something that I'm proud of. I'm like, oh, good. I created, good relationships and trustworthy without having to really, go beyond my norm, just how I am and how I talk with people. So that's one thing I really like and that I feel is a strong suit, is being able to create those relationships and grow the business and get referrals from current clients. And I know that not all bookkeepers have that strong suit. So that's one thing that I think would be good for me to focus on to continue to grow the business and get to my end goals.
Weird question, but do you enjoy puzzles?
I do. Yes.
Do you do crosswords ever?
I do Sudoku, so no puzzles.
You haven't gone full geek yet. So you just wait till you get a little older. Then you'll do crosswords and you get excited about Sunday morning because it's got 2 in the newspaper and you're even taking a newspaper, right? So, no, the reason that I asked that is because when you said earlier you like the cleanup,
Mhm.
that's a puzzle, right? That's not just a normal, like linear type of thing. So that tells me that you're somebody who likes a challenge, you like a puzzle, and you like variety,
Right,
right?
exactly. Yeah. And that's where I'm thinking, I think that's why my mind is heading towards bringing someone on to help with the more day to day and routine things. I like them and I'm good at them, but I don't think it's where the most value comes from on my part.
And we've talked about this in previous podcasts, and you're spot on, Heather. We've talked about this, kind of saying, "Hey, what's our unique ability?" And you just identified 2 of them right there: the networking, the relationships, or maybe 3 of them right there, and then kind of the figuring out the bigger puzzle, being more strategic. So let's go to the opposite end of that spectrum. What can you not stand to do in your business right now, or at least you're like
Well,
put off because it's not like your favorite?
right. Well, I guess it's kind of interesting because I love going out and creating relationships and meeting new people, but I do not like going out and actually actively searching for clients or for leads. I enjoy making the relationships, but for me, I'm creating a relationship more of a referral partner type thing as opposed to searching for clients. Because how I found most of my first clients was going through those Facebook groups and searching for people that were looking into it, that just needed questions. And I enjoy that part, but that's probably one of the first parts that I would, the actual sales and follow up. I would create the relationships and the referral partners specifically. And then from there, the marketing and the advertising. I don't know. It's weird because I love to create relationships, but that's not my strong suit in social media. Not very good at social media. Just, I don't know. I've never had someone ask me that question, so I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Well, good questions usually lead to good answers, so that's a good thing to do. And
Yeah.
I've been asked these myself, so this is kind of where I learned them.
Mhm.
Or I've sat in a dark room and said, "How can I make this better?"
Right.
But you're way ahead of me there. So, okay. So one of the things that we want to do, and the reason that I asked this, is that we want to make sure that you're offboarding those things that are not your unique ability. And we want to start with the easiest things too, right? We want to say, okay, well, what are the easy things that I can get off my plate rather than I just want to hire this bookkeeping professional to come in on their white horse and take away these clients. And then I live happily ever after.
Right.
That's happened 0 times in the history of bookkeeping. All right. And if it has happened, right, it's a rarity. And it doesn't last because if that person leaves, then your white horse and it comes all piling back on you. And it's usually horrible because you know nothing about them.
Exactly.
Ask me how I know. So what we want to do is we want to start from a task base and say, hey, Heather, what are these things that you want to get off your plate? Because I challenge you that you probably don't need, it's not probably, you don't need another bookkeeper at first.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I encourage, and I know that we've said this about a bazillion times on this show, but it bears repeating. Your first hire, once you figure out these things and once you have your procedures, is most likely a virtual assistant.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And here's a couple of advantages. Number one, virtual assistants are usually like superhuman. My virtual assistant, Beth, shout out to Beth McDeer. She's awesome. Any of you try to hire her away from me and I will fight. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that because she is my everything when it comes to work. She's my work wife.
Right.
And she takes so much. And I've only had her in earnest for about 3 months. We've had her before then, but I made a commitment at the beginning of this year to really start shifting off stuff that she's a lot better at me at. And it provides a better service to my students, my clients in Bookkeeper Business Launch, Bookkeeper Elite, when she does those sorts of things. So I always encourage people not to go out there and hire somebody and say, here's some clients, now go do that. I say the opposite. Figure out the tasks that you want to offboard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Go do those tasks and record them as you're doing them, like screen share. Right. I use Snagit. You can use Screencast. There's a bazillion of them out there, but record that. Okay. Record that one process and then go out there on Upwork and find a VA for 2 hours a week to take that one task off of you. Okay. It could be answering standard emails. It could be something that doesn't require like a lot of training on your part. Like it probably takes you maybe 15 minutes a day. But the compounding effect of 15 minutes a day over 5 days, right? That's that.
Oh, yeah.
15 minutes. That's 2.25 hours right there. Times 4 point whatever week. That's 10 hours a month. That's a quarter of a week. That's a full day and some that you would take off, and that person would be doing that you don't have to do anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
And this does a couple of things, right? So let's just kind of back up a minute. First thing we got to do is we got to say, here are my unique abilities. These are the things that I want to do all day long. Make a list of everything that you do every week, month, year, all the different activities. And then on there, say there's probably 4 or 5, and you've already identified 3 of them that's your unique ability. And what I mean by unique ability is that you're really dang good at them. You're the best in your organization at them, and you could do them all day, even if you weren't being paid. Okay. Now there's excellent activities. Okay. And that means that you're the best in your organization at them. You're a baller at it, but you can take it or leave it. Like it doesn't charge you up, right? It's kind of neutral. Right. And then there's things that you're good at, which, you're good at them, but again, it doesn't charge you. Matter of fact, it kind of takes away from you. There's things that you're, incapable of doing or incompetent at. Right. Probably not a lot of those for what we do. But what we want to do is start with those good things, the low-hanging fruit. And we want to start, we're doing a couple of things here. Number one, we're building a process just by simply recording it, getting it transcribed, send it to Rev. They charge $1 a minute, rev.com. Get that transcribed, all right? And then you can have your virtual assistant, once you do this, clean it up and make it a check. And, so we have a video process, we have a written process that's cleaned up. And then from there, you can make a checklist.
Okay.
And voila, you have a process for whatever this task is.
See, and I like that. I've been focusing on creating the processes for my actual day-to-day client work, but not the other part of the business that I run, the administrative part. Yeah.
Now you're going to get there. Okay. So you're going to get there. So what you're doing is just picking an easy thing, because what you're going to do is to start offboarding that. Now, what you've just done is freed up 15 minutes a day, hypothetically, to work on another process. And you get 5 minutes a day off with that one. And now you have time to be doing what a business owner should be doing, is working on the business and not just in the business.
Right.
And by the way, Heather, a side benefit is that this makes your business very sellable once you have processes and once you have stepped out of the day-to-day, so that, as you mentioned, if you're gone for 2 weeks in the woods, it kind of sounds weird, but if you're gone for 2 weeks and don't have internet, your clients really don't know. Right. That's a sellable business. That's something that us as bookkeeping professionals don't understand, is that when you get ready to retire or you're just ready to move on, you have something that's sellable. You don't have something that's sellable if you are involved in the day-to-day operations. Right. And if you do sell it, it's going to be for peanuts. Mm-hmm. So that's what you're doing right here. So you're starting with this low-hanging fruit. And then what's going to happen, Heather, is you're going to get addicted to this. And you're going to start going, oh my goodness. And if you find a good VA, and you'll probably have to go through a couple to really find the one. There's a great service out there. They're expensive. This is where we found Beth, and this is where we found our other VAs. It's called Belay, Belay. I don't get anything by promoting them. They're just the best. We just had to pay a tidy sum to buy Beth out of the contract that we had with Belay, but she's totally worth it.
Right. Well, it's good to know.
So if you want to go that route, you can. Upwork, just to kind of, when you start getting when you, at first you don't know what you don't know. I can tell you these things, but still you're going to fumble around. Right. But then you'll figure it out and you go, oh, okay, well that was it. That's how we do that. And then you move on to the next thing, because you're doing all new stuff here. But just start with one task and give it to one person.
That's good to know. I'm in my mind like, oh no, what can I feel comfortable with letting the reins go on? And I think if I just process it, if I create a process and systemize it, like you were mentioning, even just checking emails or setting up new clients, or I don't know, up with the list, but you're right. I'll just list what I'm good at and what I enjoy, and then go from there. Now,
after you've graduated and dumped everything off on a VA, and by the way, some of the VAs have bookkeeping experience. That's a good thing. They've probably done that with other clients. So that's one thing that you can put in your job description on Upwork or otherwise, is that you can say prior bookkeeping experience. At first, it's not really, because you're not going to be giving any of that off, but you could say, bookkeeping experience is a bonus, or QuickBooks Online experience is a bonus, which, that's a software and this is a skill. But what you're also going to be doing is building your process muscles to actually develop this process. And then you're also figuring out how to take that process and put it onto a person, a team member. And you're not having to hire employees. You're hiring contractors because they fit the description, right? They still have to fit. Obviously, there's legal reasons. And then at some point, they probably would actually become an employee. Right. But you're figuring all of this out. You're not starting with a big commitment, and you're taking things off your plate that you really don't enjoy doing and you shouldn't be doing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that brings you to eventual sanity.
Yes, that would be great, especially as our family grows and the business grows, and as we have more things on our plate. I just got to kind of, hone in the reins and figure out what exactly, where my big picture is now. And now that I have a little breathing room, I'm excited to focus on that a little more.
Now, what I'd like to do, and that's awesome. That's awesome, Heather. It motivates me to help people, to help you, and to help other students and people that are guests of this show, because I know why you're doing this, and it's so much more than just about money. I mean, obviously, money is a very important factor, but it's not the most important factor. It's about living what you said, flexibility, and there's no regrets when you look back and your son is 22 years old and graduating from Kansas, and you're like, where did the time go? Ask me how I know, right? My son just did the same thing, not Kansas, but University of North Georgia. So, you have no regrets in that. And so what I'd like to do is probably a follow-up with you, follow-up appointment. Sounds like I'm a doctor, right? I'm the bookkeeping doctor. Do a follow-up with you, and probably, when you have taken action on this, okay, when you've kind of pushed the ball down the road. Now, that's what we want to kind of end with here, right here, is like, based upon this conversation, what is your action? What are you going to do as a result of us being here today?
Right. Well, I think I'm going to figure out which tasks I can, hire a VA for. I've seen all over, those Facebook groups, and just with other business owners that I know, that a VA is incredibly helpful and necessary. It's just, for me, I'm still trying to figure out what I can offset, or, what I can hire someone on for. So I think step one will be figuring out what I want to stop doing, or what I want to hire on for, and then figure out exactly how to do that, to systemize it, to make sure that I feel comfortable having someone else take it over. Because it just makes me nervous to think of that. I'm so used to wearing all of the hats in my business, but that's not sustainable. So,
yeah, you have to get over that, because to live the life you want to. But what I would tell you is, the first thing, make that task audit, and that's where you just list out, like, go through your daily planner or your to-do list that you've had over the last 6 months, and list out everything that you do. And by the way, keep that beside you, because you're going to remember, oh yeah, do that. Didn't have that on there. List out everything that you do, and then go back and say, well, what's my unique abilities? And that should be 3 to 4 to 5, maybe. What am I excellent at? What am I good at? Start from the bottom with the easiest stuff and work your way up. Start with the things that, with you being a control person, I won't say control freak, but with you being a control person, start with things that if they totally screwed it up, nobody except for you would know the difference.
Okay.
So if that was, if they totally screwed it up, it's not optimal. You don't want that to happen, but nobody, there's no word, there's no harm, no foul, right? And then, because you're building up trust with this person, and then you start taking things that are bigger, more pertinent to the clients and such, but you don't start there.
Right.
And that's a mistake that every bookkeeping professional, and me and my accounting firm with a huge bookkeeping department, made, is that I just thought I could hire bookkeepers and throw them at these client problems, which really wasn't a client problem. It was my problem, because I didn't have processes.
Right. Yeah, that's a very good point.
Okay. All right. So the last thing, by when are you going to have this task audit done? And when are you going to have your virtual assistant with one task hired?
Well,
I don't let you off here.
I know. That's a good question. Well, in my mind, I almost wonder if any of those tasks I could, because I'm trying to figure out what I can pass off to my husband too. And so, we obviously want someone, we can't handle everything ourselves, but we'll say by the end of June, I'll plan to have someone hired on to help. If either
June.
I don't know.
What you get? That's 2.5 months away.
Well, that's true. I have a very busy couple months ahead. We have another trip planned. No, I know. I'm making excuses.
Oh, well.
No, I know that's what you're going to tell me.
Well,
Okay.
if that's what you think is doable, then set that as your date.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel, well, part of it might be that some of that I pass on to my husband in the meantime. So either I find out tasks for him, and then beyond that, I find someone that I can hire and bring on and help. But yeah, I just need to sit down and figure out exactly what it is that I do each day or each week and what I can actually pass off. Because right now it's hard to imagine all of that.
So task audit, you think it's safe to say you can have that task audit done by the end of April, a couple of weeks from now?
Yeah.
I mean, I did mine in a weekend, but not setting the bar that high, but or low. I don't know which way you call it, but kind of break it up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. End of April. Sounds good.
For your task audit. And then end of June, you have somebody and they're on board. So here's what I want you to do when you get back to your house, when you get back to your office, whatever. I want you to put these dates, circle them, put them in green, because that's what it's going to mean for you and for your clients and for your husband. Circle April 30th and write in what it's going to be, either electronically or physically. I like it a lot better. And then June 30th, and put what's going to happen, not what you want to happen, but what's going to happen by those dates on there. Now, one thing that I failed to mention that I wanted to leave you with here is that when you're going through this task audit, also, before you say, I want to offboard this, ask yourself, can I or should I stop doing this altogether?
Okay.
And if you can't stop doing that, then next step is, can I automate it?
Okay.
Is there a way in which to automate it? Look at Zapier Zapier can pretty much wash your car, connect,
Well, then I worked with one lady, and she helped me set up like Pipedrive for my client resource management, and then Acuity for my scheduling. And so I have a few of like the infrastructure set up. It's more just actually getting all of the details completed and then, unleashing it. That's so I worked with her. And so I'm kind of like halfway towards building that kind of automated infrastructure for at least part of it. Which is also why I was kind of why I pushed my date out a little bit, because I'd love to get that all finished to see what that automates, and then see what's still left after that.
Perfect. So can you ask yourself, can I stop doing this altogether? Right, like nobody needs to be doing this.
Right.
If I can't stop doing it, if we can't as an organization, can we automate it? Can we improve it? All right, and improve upon that. And I'll tell you, when you're documenting these processes and you're actually doing the procedure, you're going to notice, because you're in a different frame of mind. You're in a teaching frame of mind and not so much a doing frame of mind. And when you teach it, you're like, holy crap, there's a better way to do this. Why didn't I think about doing that? And then you go and you try that and you're like, oh, but so there's a ton of benefits that you get from this.
Right, absolutely. Cool. I'm excited.
Well, Heather, I appreciate you playing along with us today. I'm proud of you for the success that you've given to you and your family. I mean, not even 2 years into it. And look what you've been able to do. And that's one thing that as business owners, as bookkeeping professionals, we don't do, is to look at our accomplishments. So I just want to encourage you to do that. Go to your husband and say, look at what I did. I'm bad,
I remind him often. No.
Okay, good. Yes. Yeah. Listen to no marital advice from Ben. I'm divorced. So I will not be a subject matter expert on that. All right. Well, Heather, it's great. I'd love to do a follow-up with you. As always, you know how to reach out to me if I can be of any assistance. And
thank you for what you've done. Thank you for BBL, because it's been a life changer.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. All right.
Well, thank you. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast. This is Heather Denning, and if you would like to find out more about Heather, you can go to her website, if I can find it here on my sheet of paper. That is going to be Denning, DENNING, bookkeeping.com. She says that her Facebook and LinkedIn profiles are boring, so unless you are looking for something boring, then don't go there. All right? So that's how you find out more about Heather.
Yeah, people say my website's really good, though, so that's good.
Perfect. That's what we want, the best of the best. Listen, if you would like to hear more great conversations just like today's, then I want you to head on over to ilovebookkeeping.com. There, you're going to find all of the shows, the notes, and some other great goodies that we have for you there. Now, if you'd like to be a guest on the I Love Bookkeeping show, there is a link that says Be a Guest. Go in there and we'll walk you through the process of getting on the show. And finally, to discover more about our programs, go to the courses page on the ilovebookkeeping.com site. There you have it, another great episode of I Love Bookkeeping. Thank you for being a proud listener, and thank you for being a bookkeeping professional. Enjoy the rest of your week.
I love bookkeeping. Here's a little shout to all my friends working hard at keeping the books. You want to change your life, you want to grow that biz, it's not as hard as it looks. Be a money guide, a profit coach, step up your game and see. You'll be working less and making more, and that's the way it's gonna be.